Let me take you back in time to when you were young. Do you remember that?
Only just
How many years ago were you born?
88 years.
88 years ago?
Yeah.
And
Long time.
it was a long time ago. And how old were you when you were born?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Where were you born?
At Imbit's Farm, Good Easter.
How do you spell it?
Imbirds.
That's an unusual spelling.
It is unusual.
Who was Mr. Imbert? Did he own it, or was it just a name?
I wouldn't know.
Does it still exist?
Yes.
It's still called...
Imbit's Farm.
Tell us about why were you born on a farm?
Well,
I wasn't born in a stable.
because my mother happened to be there.
And what was her maiden name?
Anne Johnson was her maiden name.
And what?
She married Stephen Lee.
And what did they do at Imbert's farm?
My father was a stockman.
Looking after cattle?
Yes.
I think that's that thunderclap. And how many years had he been a stockman, and how many years had you lived there? Did you live
Well,
there?
I lived there 11 years because my father died when I was 5, and we stayed there until I was 11. And then we moved down the village, a little cottage built onto the chapel, and my mother and I lived there.
Right, tell me about it. That must have been a pretty tragic happening. I take it, was it a tied cottage and you had to move out because of your father's death?
Yes, it was the farmhouse actually. The old farmhouse had been made into 2 houses, and but we were not forced out. We waited until this little cottage came empty, and my mother lived in that and looked after the little chapel there.
Who owned the farm at that time? Who did
Mr.
you?
Matthews.
What was his Christian name?
Jeffrey.
And he took a compassionate view, did he?
Very much so. He was a lovely Christian man. He used to preach in the chapel.
How old was your father when he died?
Only 53.
Really? Was it
Yes.
a heart attack?
No, he had a boil on the back of his neck and poison set in through his body, and if you wanted a doctor you've got to walk about 8 miles to get one. No phones or anything like that. And so the doctor didn't get there.
So he died, modern medicine would have saved him, or an ambulance?
Yes, I think so. Penicillin or something like that.
Your mother must have been, well,
She must have been
devastated.
devastated,
But
absolutely
you can't
devastated.
remember that, I mean, she...
Yes, I can
Yes,
remember it.
yes.
Right. Because she's got 4 school age.
4 school-age children to feed.
4 school age children.
And was there such a thing as national health and this
I
sort
think
of
just
thing?
a little. Not much to speak
How
of.
did she must have, was she a Christian lady, your parents?
Absolutely.
Tell me a bit about her then.
She was one of God's saints. Marvellous lady she was. We never went to bed without saying our prayers, and she never went to chapel on a Sunday without kneeling down beside her bed, first of all, to ask God to bless the day for us. We were never allowed to do anything on Sundays. No, if the button come off your shoe, you were dead unlucky because didn't get put on again. The potatoes were all peeled on Saturday, ready for Sunday. Nothing was done on Sunday. It was a very holy day. We were not always happy about it. Once I tried to get out of going to Sunday school once, and she said, well, if I were you, I would go while you can, because the day may come when you want to go and can't. So I would go while you can, yes.
How old was she when your father died?
I wouldn't know, about 48 I think, 48, 49.
And she was a housewife?
Yes.
Farmer's wife?
Yes, yes.
And she
had to work very hard.
what did she do?
Mostly in the fields. Yes, go out in the fields.
Gleaning?
Turning hay in the fields and doing all sorts of work in the fields.
Hard work?
It was hard work.
She did a man's job then, did she?
Yes, really did a man's job.
Was she cut out for it, or?
Not really, but it's a case of having to do what comes to hand.
What sort of build would you describe her, comparing, say, to somebody at church? Was she a slight
Small
lady?
Yes,
Really?
small lady, yes, smaller than I am.
And so a pitchfork and the thing, I mean, it would hurt, wasn't an easy feat.
No, it certainly wasn't.
Did she have any brothers or sisters that helped?
No, she had a brother and a sister. One lived at Romford and one at London.
So they were a long way away.
Yes, a long
Now
way.
what about his side of the family? Was there anybody that helped there?
Not near.
Was
no.
his parents still alive?
I wouldn't think so.
Her parents still alive?
No, because I didn't know any of them.
Really?
I was the last of 9 children, so I never knew a grandparent at all.
Your mother had 9 children?
Yes.
But they'd grown up and left?
Yes.
And then she was fending for 4?
Yes.
Could the older ones afford to give her money to support
well,
you?
Not at that time. My brother would have been probably 13.
Right.
And
Go through the family and tell me their ages at that point when you were 5. Who was the oldest? Let's go.
I was the youngest, and then Annie was 2 years older than I was. When my father died, she would be 7, and the next sister would be 11, and my brother would have been 13. And then you get the older ones that had left school and gone out to work.
Can you still remember all their names?
Oh, I can remember their names all right. There was Len, then Nellie, and then Rose, who was responsible for building Bethel by the help of the Lord, and Daisy, Edie, Ada, and Ernie. I think that's how they came.
And then yourself?
Yes.
And you were the last?
I was
A
the last.
family of 9?
Yes. And she actually had 11, but 2 boys died. One after me died.
But how could they contemplate such a large family with so little income coming in?
Well, they just didn't think about it. That was a natural thing. You see, people had large families in those days. But I'm glad she did, because I had a wonderful family of sisters and brothers. It was lovely, really.
Really?
Yes.
Vast family?
Yes, absolutely marvellous. And all but one were Christians. And he was a Christian before he died. He gave his heart to the Lord.
Which one was that?
Len. Yes, he died. He was about 70, I think, when he died.
So at 5 years of age, did you realise your father had passed away?
Yes, oh yes, very
much.
much.
Is it still vivid on your memory of it?
Yes, very much.
How? Why is it vivid?
Well, before he died, I was the last one there, and I think he made a bit of fuss of me being the last one there, and he used to have to go out into the horse and cart, down to the fields to take food to the animals, and I used to go with him. So it was lovely for me to have lots of rides with my dad. And I remember going by the school as we went with the children out to play, and I felt so good because I didn't have to go to school and I could go out with Dad instead.
I still feel like that now, don't you, when you pass the school? What school did you go to eventually then?
Easter.
You were in the farmhouse.
Yes.
And then your father passed away, tragically, and then you went to live where? Beside a chapel?
Yes, the house joined on to the chapel.
Which chapel was this?
Down Good Easter Village.
What was it called?
Ty Green.
What was it called, the chapel?
Congregational chapel.
How did your mother get that position there?
Well, I suppose through Mr. Matthews. See, he was more or less the lord of the manor, and I think it was through her, because
He set her up in there.
she worked for him on the farm, you see. And when this cottage came open, empty, he asked her if she would like to go in.
And look after the church.
That's right.
So she'd go and clean in there
That's
and keep
right,
it tidy.
Yes.
Did she do the flowers or just?
Oh, she always did the flowers. She loved flowers.
So it was
always.
like a caretaker.
Yes, yes. And that was what she did until she was about 70.
When did she pass away?
When she was 94.
She almost outlived you.
Well, yeah, could have done. When...
Did she outlive some of her children?
No.
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 Well, they all had a long life, did they? Apart from the ones you said, the 2 that...
Yes, more or less. Yes. Yes, she had mastoids when she was 70. And then when she came back, she didn't feel she could live on her own anymore. So she went and lived with one of my sisters at Chignal. And she was there until she passed away. She was 94.
How many brothers and sisters have you got alive now?
Only one. Yes, she's been with me this year and she'll be coming again later.
Tell me her name.
Annie.
But tell me a bit about her. Where does she live? How old is she?
Well, she actually lives at Littlehampton now. Most of her life was spent at Wembley. But her son-in-law and daughter moved down to Littlehampton. He has charge of a church down there. And so they've been down there nearly a year now. And they're quite happy down there.
She's a Christian?
Oh yes, everyone was a Christian.
How did it happen that every one of them came to the Lord?
Well, my mother was such a saint. She was really got one of God's saints.
But she didn't put you off it with her rules and regulations.
No,
Why not?
Not at all. What she said was the word from the Lord, what she said, and we accepted it. Just as you accept a meal, we accepted the Lord and didn't question anything. In those days, I never questioned about God at all.
So there must be a large family out there of Campens. Most of them related, possibly.
Not Campens, Lees.
Lees? Ah.
That's right.
So the family name was Lee.
That's right.
So if you ask a Lee, you could trace them back perhaps to your family.
You could probably, yes, yeah. Although there are quite a number of Lees about.
How do you spell the Lee? L-E-I-G-H?
No.
L-E-E?
Double-E, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Is the Campen family large as well? Or is it not as large as 9 children from one family?
7. There were
7?
7 Campens.
Right, well we'll go on to that in a minute. So you were living 5 years of age, then you went to the school.
Yes.
Yeah. And then what did you do from the school? What did you? What age did you leave? 12, 14.
14, and I went out as nursemaid to a little boy.
What was the matter with him?
Not anything, just a nanny. Just a nanny, actually.
Was it a live-in nanny?
Yes.
Live-in?
Yes.
Where was this?
At Broomfield.
Who for? A wealthy family or?
Seabrooks, yes.
Seabrooks?
Seabrooks at Broomfield, yes.
Right. Was that off Broomfield Road?
On the main road.
On the main road, yeah.
Yes, at Butler's.
Near the what, Butler's?
Yes.
Up on the right there?
Yes, that's right, yes.
And that was the house. I think they're doing it up at the moment,
right,
aren't
they? Are. Yes.
Fancy that. Which part of the house did you live? Upstairs, downstairs, somewhere?
Downstairs. Well, in the nursery was upstairs, and mostly in the nursery.
And what was his name, the boy? Do you remember? He was a Seabrook.
Yes, he was a Seabrook, but just at the moment his name won't come.
He should be alive, shouldn't he?
He should be.
Yeah. How many years were you his nanny? Many?
Well, in all, until I got married, in all.
Really?
But only there about a couple of years, I would think.
You must have married young then, did you?
21.
21. So for at least 5 years you were a nanny?
Yes.
To him?
No, other children.
Other children?
Well,
Your professional nanny?
Yes.
Right.
Well, I don't know whether you call it professional.
What's your husband's name?
Cecil. And my sister, who lived just up the road, asked me one day when I hadn't got anything to do at the moment. I was living at home with Mum. And she said, would I care to look after a gentleman and his son, whose wife was in hospital, and he hadn't got anybody to look after him? Would I care to come and look after him and I could stay with her while I did? And that is how I came here. And finding his son was a very nice fellow. We fell in love.
You didn't?
Yeah, we did, absolutely.
How was he older than you, or just a bit young?
Yes, 4 years older than I was.
And what did Cecil do for a living?
Well, he worked for his father. His father was a builder, and he worked for his father. His father built this house.
Really?
And the one up the road where my sister lived, his father built that one as well.
What was the road like here in those days when it was built?
Just like a lane. High hedges both sides. Only one house along the road here, Riddlewick. And high hedge both sides of the road. Hardly room for 2 carts to pass by.
Hasn't changed then?
I've noticed a lot of changes since I've been up here. I've been here 67 years. That's a long time, isn't it? There's not much goes on what I don't know.
So how did he ask you out? I mean, just tell us. Did you just hold hands one day, or did he say, would you like to be my girlfriend, or shall we get married?
No, I think we used to go out together. We went to his sister's, I know. We went to the pictures once or twice, which was really dreadful in those days.
What, do you remember the films you saw?
Had to be undercover.
Under the cover of darkness? So he led you astray then?
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, I would.
Would you?
Oh, you're good Christian girls. Going to cinemas, evil.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where people smoked.
Yes, that's right, yes.
But I suppose you wouldn't dare go on a Sunday. This was Saturday or Friday night or something.
They were not open on a Sunday, I don't think then.
Of course not,
No,
of course not.
No, Sunday was very much a special day of the week.
How long were you together then before you married? How did it happen?
4 years.
4 years?
Yes.
Boy and girl.
Yes. Got to know each other well.
Did you ever think that you'd marry him? Was he the one?
Oh,
or?
I hope so.
Really?
Yes, I hope so.
Right.
Yes.
And he had good prospects? So your mother was pleased? She could build him he could build her a house.
He could have done. Yes, he could have done. Mother never said anything. We had our own choice.
So he built this house for you?
His father did.
His father? As a wedding gift, or?
No, his father lived in the other end.
Yes.
And we lived this side and his father lived that side.
So he didn't go astray very far, did
No,
he?
no.
But did he build it for both of you, or were they both?
His mother.
His mother?
His mother and father. He came up here actually, I think he was about 13.
From where?
From Rainsford End, where the yard is in Rainsford End.
He lived at the yard?
Next door to the yard was a cottage, and that is where they lived. And then they built this house and came up here to live.
How long after this was built, and that was built for Rose?
Yes.
Was the chapel built? Was there a time gap before the Lord spoke to her and the chapel was built, that you lived here?
Well, I was 16 when I was helping my sister with the Sunday school, and the chapel was built in 1921. Was it 1921? I forget the dates. But I was with my sister helping in the Sunday school in her little cottage there before it was built. And that's a long time ago, 70 years ago.
When the chapel was built, there was nothing here. This was just a little country
lane.
There
were country cottages on the right there. There were country cottages, and some of them have been pulled down. Where there's only one, there are 6 in a row. And right on the bend, as you go around a double bend by the farm, there were 3.
It wasn't uninhabited. More people lived on the land in those days, didn't they?
Yes, there was a lot on the farm.
What did those people, would they have been going to the local Church of England, or did they pray that one day there'd be a free evangelical church built here, or Baptist church?
My sister felt concerned about the little children who were running about in the roads with no Sunday school or anything. And so she felt God was asking her to start a Sunday school in her own home, which she did. And she had quite a lot of little children there. And then the lady up the farm asked her if she would like to have a meeting during the week and go up the farm in her big kitchen, which they did. And then they said between them how lovely it would be if there were a chapel or something that they could go to. And then God was speaking to Rose all this time, and definitely called her to build a chapel here. And she had to ask permission of different farmers if they had a piece of ground. And in the end, Mr. Marriage said we could have a little piece that is Bethel stands on now. And we only paid a peppercorn rent. And this year, that's 70 years that it's been standing there. And it's been
Who'd
a great
have thought
blessing.
it?
Yes, when the new estate was built here, we had about 80 children coming every Sunday. I was really glad when the Church of England was built and the Trent Road congregation was
It took some of the pressure off you.
Yes, it did.
Especially it was only a tiny chapel.
Because we couldn't have classes. We had to have open school every Sunday because there wasn't room to have classes.
Was there any feeling, let's make it a bit bigger, let's expand? Why was it never expanded?
Well, there wasn't that many people who came. It was the children really that came, so many of the children that came. And then we did get down low with our congregations then. The older people either died or moved away, and there was no young ones to take their place.
So obviously at a point people thought, well, this work could be finished then.
Well, nearly, until they built the estate over here.
Mm.
And then people started coming in from the estate, and the church gradually built up, and now, of course, it's not big enough for Sunday worship. Not now, because so many people come, which is wonderful.
What were the wonderful things about being a Christian and living a more simple era with on the farm? What was wonderful about it?
There were no burglars. People didn't bother to lock their doors when they went out because they knew nobody would come in while they were gone. And you were never jealous of other people, what they'd got, because nobody got anything else either. Everybody was poor and you helped one another. My mum would go down the village, and if anyone hadn't got any tea, well, she'd take them some. Perhaps she wanted it herself, but she was such a Christian lady, she would take her own and give it to them. If she knew there were one or two very poor families, worse off than we were. And she felt God would have her do these sort of things. And she always sat up with anybody if they were ill. She would go and help look after them.
These were the 20s that you were brought up in, were they? I'm just trying to work out the date. If we're in the 90s, and we're going back about 60, 70 years.
Yes, well, I was born in 1909.
1909?
So yes, it was before the 20s, actually.
So it was before the 20s, so you would have seen the First World War?
Yes.
As a child, and Zeppelins, perhaps?
Yes,
or
oh yes, and searchlights were simply marvellous.
That was just the First World War?
Yes. We saw the first motor car, which Mr. Matthews had himself, came into the village.
Really? The first motor car in Chelmsford?
Well, in Good Easter, in the village.
Do you remember what it was? Was it an old Ford or something? Everyone must have gathered around.
I guess they did. I guess they did, yes. And there was a baker in the village, and he had a charabanc. I don't know if you ever remember the old charabanc.
I've seen photographs of them.
Yes.
Large lorry type things with
top.
seats.
That's right, yes.
And they go to the seaside in the charabanc.
That's right, yes. That was simply wonderful.
And where did you charabanc off to? With Cecil, or was that before his time?
No, before, when I was a child.
You charabanced with the Sunday school?
That's right, yes.
What sort of places did you go to? Walton?
Well, Felixstowe we did go.
As far as Felixstowe?
Once, as far as Felixstowe.
I would have thought the roads were good by then, but perhaps they
Well, we
weren't.
did go to Felixstowe once. It was called the Queen Mary, I think, on the side of the charabanc. But our Sunday school treats, we always went out for a ride in a wagon, horses and wagon, for our Sunday school treats. And then go in one of the meadows and have games and tea, which absolutely was simply marvellous, because that's the only highlight of a whole year.
Better than Christmas?
Yes, I think really. Yes, we didn't have a very marvellous Christmas, really.
What sort of sweets did you eat in those days, in the early days? Did you have homemade boiled sweets, or could you go to?
No.
Did you have a shop in the village?
Yes, there was a little shop in the village.
What did you like, licorice or something, or?
No, I didn't.
Peppermint?
They sold licorice, but I didn't like licorice really. But we used to have bars of Fry's chocolate with a cream in the middle, and we used to have to get a pennyworth of sweets and share it between three of us.
How many sweets could you get for a pennyworth?
Oh, quite a lot, really.
Little chewy sweets?
Yes, little tiny ones, about 20, I would say. And
what about bubble gum? Had that been invented?
no, well, we didn't.
Or the Americans perhaps brought that over in the war?
Probably, yes.
Right.
Not at.
Did you see any Zeppelins pass over Chignal? Easter?
Over Good Easter. Yeah. And we saw the aeroplanes when there was a raid on London. We saw aeroplanes.
Oh, with the big Gotha bombers?
Yes, going over to London. We did see.
They'd come over the North Sea and sweep round.
Yes, that's right, yes.
And did you see them in searchlights? Were there searchlights in Chelmsford, or was it London?
No, somewhere around Chelmsford.
Really?
Yeah, you could see them.
In the First World War?
Yes, because I remember we were at the farm and we would go out to have a look.
You must have heard about when they shot down the Zeppelins and they were coming down, weren't they?
Yes, there was
Leif Robinson.
There was an aeroplane shot down at
Billericay?
Roxwell somewhere.
Roxwell.
And as children we all raced over the fields and roads to see this marvellous thing that had come down. Everything.
And were you able to see it, or did the police stop you?
No, well, the police were there, but they let us get fairly near.
What was it? What did it look like?
Well, just a mess, really.
A wreckage, burnt out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Bits and pieces.
Yes, that's right.
And somebody had died in there, had they, I suppose?
More than likely.
How was that shot? Was that shot down from the air?
Must have been, yes.
Now then the war ended and peace came to the country again.
That's right.
What about all the terrible casualties in the First World War? Were you sheltered from all this? Did you understand it?
Never saw anything.
Didn't you lose any farmhands in the war that didn't come back?
Yes. My brother-in-law was one of the farmhands, and fortunate for him and my sister, he didn't have to go. Somebody had to stay on the farm to look after the stock and everything, so he was fortunate not to have to go.
Oh, well, yeah.
But a lot of them did lose their lives, and there's a memorial in the churchyard now still with all the names of the men on who lost their lives in the war.
The women were liberated then a bit, were they, to work
Yes.
on the land while the men, millions were being mown down?
That's right. That was when they went to Hoffman's. A lot of them then went into Hoffman's.
Women?
Yes.
To work in
That's
munitions?
right, yes, to work in the music.
And start getting ready for the next one?
That's right, yes, yeah. Yes, making the ball bearings ready for them for the next one, yeah.
There were many changes. What about the come up to the Second World War then? Did that affect your life at all? First World War didn't really. Second World War?
No.
You were still country folk?
Not really. My children were small here because I remember we had to get gas masks. Everybody had to have a gas mask. And David, he was only 4 and we had ever such a job really to get him to put a gas mask on because children were a bit frightened of that sort of thing. But when we used to go around the fields to pick blackberries, we always took a gas mask with us on your back in case there was an air raid and a gas attack.
What year did you get married in? Can you remember?
I can't, you'll have to work it out yourself.
To
I was
work it out.
21.
Was it before the war? The Second World War?
Well, my husband was a warden, air raid warden.
So it must have been before.
Yes.
Where did you get...
With the children were about 4
Right.
and 8.
Let's go back then. You got... Where did you get married?
Good Easter Church.
Was that the parish church?
Yes, parish
What-
church.
You married in Church of England?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Who were your bridesmaids?
I had 7 in all because we were a big family and you can't leave anybody out.
Lots of sisters.
Yes, and nieces, and so there were 7 altogether.
And what sort of ring did you get? A couple of an engagement and a wedding ring, or?
Oh, I had an engagement ring which I've got on now,
Show it to us.
and
Show it to the camera. What's that? An emerald with diamonds, is it? Or sapphire.
I think. Yes.
Sapphire, yeah.
Yes, but my husband didn't have a ring. They didn't in those days. No.
Did you have a wedding ring, or have you lost
Oh,
it?
yes, yes.
That's
No,
it, that's
no. No,
Yeah.
never
Where did he
lost.
buy them from? Just a local jeweller, or were they
Yes.
passed through the family?
No, it was in the Rainsford End, the jeweller then. I forget his name. But it was in the Rainsford End. My husband went, he knew the...
And you had 7 bridesmaids.
Yes.
And who conducted the wedding service? Do you remember his name?
Well, the vicar, and I can't
Okay.
remember his name, not now.
And you didn't muff the lines at all, did you?
No,
It went
no.
lovely.
It was on Easter Saturday, and everybody said afterwards how lovely the flowers were because the church had been decorated, but I just didn't see one. I was,
You only had eyes for him.
I was so nervous.
Where did you go to honeymoon then? South of France, Majorca?
No, we didn't have a honeymoon. We just came back here. But
And made hay.
but we got the key to the door, so we knew no one could play any jokes on us because we got the key to the door.
Did they play any jokes?
No,
Ah.
couldn't get in.
How did you get here? Pony and cart?
No, by a man in the village had got a little minibus, and when it used to go up hills, you had to help push it up the hills. But he brought us home in a little minibus.
Tell us about your children.
To Margaret, she was born in the June, the following year in the June, and 4 years after that, David was born.
Right. Why didn't you go in for a big family?
Well, we'd had a big family at home, and I thought it would be a change. Didn't have so much work to do if we didn't have so many children.
Right.
Yeah.
How did your mother cope with sort of washing clothes, and did all the family help each other? I mean, there must have been
It was a whole day experience.
Monday.
Yes, always Monday.
And how did she wash her clothes?
Well, all
The
by
washing
hand.
machine?
No. All by hand. Wash them
By
all by
hand, in a butler sink?
No, not a sink, a bath.
A bath?
A bath, yes.
Outside or
No, in the old kitchen.
with a scrubbing board?
Yes, that's right. We used to have a mangle. Us children used to turn the mangle while she put the washing through. Yeah, they were archaic days, really.
And what did she do? I mean, every meal that she had was fresh. being a farmer, did she have a field? Did your father, you know, grow his own vegetables?
Yes, he had an allotment right near. He had an allotment. Grew enough vegetables to last the whole year through, really.
What happened when he passed away? Where did she get her fresh vegetables from? Did Mr. Matthews bring it along? Or?
No, she set them herself. Yes, she still set them herself.
And she never remarried?
No,
Really?
Never remarried, no.
And where is she buried?
In Good Easter Churchyard.
With Dad?
Yes.
Both of them there?
Graves side by side.
Most of their children, where are they buried? All over Essex?
Yes, 2 of them are in Chignal Churchyard, and that's where I expect I should be put in there as well.
And Cecil, where's he?
In Chignal Churchyard.
Right, and there's a little corner there for you already,
yes,
keeping it warm.
Three of us there will be, and our husbands and wives. Yes.
You've been a Christian and you've seen a lot of things in your life. Oh, you look forward to death?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I'm ready to go now, but I can't go until the Lord calls me. But it's going to be great the other side.
Why is that?
Well, we won't have any worries or troubles or anything like that. They'll all be over, and that will simply be wonderful.
Do you trust the Lord that you'll see Cecil again?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. And my dear mother, I should look forward to see her.
And your father?
And, yes. And
you've got a lot of catching up to do.
I have.
Do you find over the years that you thought about your father especially more, or is he a distant memory? How do you...
No, he's not a distant memory, because I had such a happy childhood.
You were only 5 when he went?
Yes, but it was such a happy childhood we had. We were on the farm and we could go and look at the animals when we liked and roam about the fields.
And no accidents?
No.
And nobody lurking there? Nothing?
No.
Absolutely idyllic?
Yes. And Mother didn't know where we were half the time, but she knew we'd come home when we were hungry. So there's nothing for anybody to worry about, really.
What has kept your faith so strong over the years?
Because God has spoken to me in so many ways and answered my prayers in so many different ways.
Well, he took your father away. That's not a good prayer. That's not a good answer, is it?
Yes.
He was cruel.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't God's fault at all when things like that happened. If my dad had lived it today, he would have had penicillin, he'd been alive. It's just one of those things. It's nothing to do with the Lord, really. But God has always promised to help us through. He doesn't say that we'll be kept from trouble, but when we are in trouble, he'll help us through. Yes, he's been a wonderful God to me.
But you kept faithful all the years when your husband didn't go to chapel. How did you find it? Cecil accepted your faith, didn't he?
Absolutely.
He didn't stop you.
No, not at all. Never. No, he didn't stop me at all. And I used to go to Bethel 3 times every Sunday, and he never used to grumble or say anything about it at all. He used to go to church. He used to ring the bell at church and dig the graves. And
a wicked sense of humour.
That's right.
I won't tell you some of the jokes he's told me.
No.
So you live alone now and you trust the Lord. You've had a full life.
Yes, I do indeed trust the Lord.
And what do you do for fun now? So you've got a modern television set. I think it's colour. I think somebody's got you colour, hopefully.
Yeah.
And they've got an answer phone here. You haven't got a video, and you haven't got a mobile phone.
No.
But the Lord's provided for you all these years.
Absolutely, yes. He's been a wonderful Father to me, Heavenly Father, yes.
If there's something you'd like to say to your grandchildren and their children, and what would you say to them as a Christian?
Well, trust in the Lord. Don't give your whole time to the things of this world, because there will come an end. And you will wish then that you had thought probably more about eternity than you have done now.
But how can they find the Lord if they're a million miles away? They haven't been brought up perhaps in a Christian home. They can drift away like the prodigal son, and they can chase after other things. How can a message from a dear Christian lady like you reach people that are not interested? How do you trust the Lord for them?
Well, they're only a prayer away. I pray so much now. So much of my life is talking to God as I'm here on my own. And I pray for all my children, my grandchildren. I have 7 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. and I pray for them twice every day. And I know that they'll all be in heaven, because the Lord said, whatever you ask, I will give you, if it's my will. And we know that it's not his will that one should perish. So we're on safe ground. And so I know they'll all be in heaven. I may not live to see it, but I know that they'll be there. And I shall long to see them there when they come. I shall probably go before them now. But it'll be a wonderful day when I get up there and see the Lord. That's just what I'm looking for really at the moment.
Lovely, lovely.
Children, when they got married, grandchildren.
Well, these are all presents for Nanny's Day, are they?
Yes, a lot of them.
Everyone a present, yeah?
Yes, all those little knickknacks.
I like the egg.
Yeah, that's rather nice, isn't it?
Who are these on here?
Cheryl's children, those three. Mandy's little boy on the left.
Oh, lovely. We're all getting old. Who are these?
Margaret's three grandchildren.
Right. Let's get your dear little kitchen here. It's fully modernised and mod cons, isn't it? Is there anything new here at all?
No. No, not a bit. I'll say 67 years old.
Is this a fitted kitchen 67 years ago?
Fitted?
Yeah.
You see those cupboard doors up there? Well, do you remember the old Venetian blinds? Well, we had two here, and when we took them down, Cecil made that cupboard door with them.
Doesn't waste anything, does he? I think the most modern thing you've got here is the fridge.
That's handy.
Do you cook your meals in that stove? Surely not.
What, that Arga?
Yeah.
No, I've got a little baby berry here.
Oh, right.
No, I haven't had that light for a long time.
This little dear little baby Belling. Have you heard of a microwave oven?
I don't want one. I'm managing that. There's a little grill in it. And I can get a chicken in there.
Right, well, that's very cute. Her kitchen prayer. Who wrote today's prayer? Lord, bless my little kitchen and warm it with thy love. Who made that?
I did.
You didn't.
I did.
You're pretty good, you know.